brain-dead conservative Amy is going to convince Anna Kasparian, whose IQ is dropping by the minute due to hanging out with these idiotic conservatives, that the government is the reason for the floods in South Carolina and Saudi Arabia. They think because cloud seeding exists, that the government is weaponizing this and using it to harm their own civilians so that they spend millions of dollars having to provide aid to their own civilians. Like, again, like, this is brain dead stuff. It makes no sense. They're not educated, which is why they didn't learn about cloud seeding until, a few days ago. But when they learn about it, rather than like understanding the scientific phenomena, because these guys think that cloud seeding can somehow create a flood out of nowhere, they don't understand the scientific phenomena, and then they'll attribute the scientific phenomena to a conspiracy that the government is weaponizing against their own civilians so that they can spend money to bail those civilians out. Like, it's idiotic, it's brain dead, it's nonsense.
The hazardous things into the environment, or things that will, what the conspiracy theorists say, make us more docile, make us more dumb.
I'm not docile at all. It's not working on me.
Yeah, I know, right? Definitely not on Anna. Control the weather. They say that it
Never want that.
They say that it is weaponized to control political enemies. So, like, for example, there was widespread conspiracy theories that the North Carolina flooding was, in fact, a lot of cloud seeding and manipulation to prevent people from being able to get out and vote in that very crucial swing state. I would consider that to be more along the lines of a conspiracy theory, okay?
And Texas floods from this past week.
Okay, and so this is where we need to talk about it. So when we all first started getting in our group chat and we were talking about the floods, I sent in my little thing about
They say it's a conspiracy theory, but clearly they're all sold on it, except for maybe Anna. Anna has like a modicum of intelligence. Everyone else is a brain-dead conservative maggot.
What is it, Operation Rainmaker? One of the guys who directly work with Palantir, I believe that's the tweet that you had up before, Nat. You can pull this one up. I sent it into our group chat, and I was like, guys, could something not be about Palantir, please? Like, could he please, could Peter Thiel keep his dirty freaking fingerprints off at least something, okay? But we can go ahead and read this. It has been verified. Cloud seeding CEO funded by Peter Thiel connected to Palantir. Meet Augustus Dorico, a 25-year-old tech bro and field fellow who founded the weather modification startup Rainmaker. According to publicly available information, his company was reportedly cloud seeding over parts of Texas just 2 days before these historic floods hit the region.
What is the argument in favor of cloud seeding? Because I've looked into cloud seeding. It's real. It's happening.
Droughts. I mean, specifically in places like...
Again, these guys have learned about cloud seeding 2 days ago, and they have a million conspiracy theories about this phenomena that they do not understand. They think that because a company funded by Peter Thiel was cloud seeding, that it was for a malicious reason, and not because Texas is a very hot state, and there are some areas that probably go through a lot of droughts. So it would make sense to cloud seed in those areas to, provide a little more rain than they would typically experience. Again, if you look into the actual data, if you look into the research, there's not a single research paper that suggests that cloud seeding can create floods that go up to 26 feet in a few seconds. There's not a single research paper that would suggest that cloud seeding is that potent. These guys are clueless.
For example. But we can also see when that goes.
Creates an immigration crisis because there's no food, there's no water.
It all leads back to immigration. JillianMichaels, brain dead, idiotic, just a right-wing hack.
And I've talked about this before on the show. There's a documentary called The Grab where these countries are going in and they're grabbing the assets. Literally, they're transporting water, even in places like Arizona.
Oh yeah.
And food, and it's creating a huge. Whenever there's a protein source crisis, you've got Somali pirates all of a sudden because their waters are being overfished.
So, look, I think Lindy is going to have a lot to say about this, but there's an argument from people like, let's say, Ben Shapiro. I've heard him make this argument before, where he's kind of like minimizing the catastrophic impact of climate change, because his whole argument is, well, humans are innovative and we're going to find ways to mitigate it, right? And
The irony is conservatives don't believe in climate change, but they'll buy into conspiracy theories like the government manipulating the weather. Insane.
So when you're talking about lengthier droughts, when you're talking about severe droughts, right, I guess a way to mitigate it is through cloud seeding, but then there are other consequences that maybe you didn't think about ahead.
Finally, someone with a brain.
Maybe we need to do something to...
Instead of just mitigating, Anna, thank you for that. And thank you for throwing me the ball there. It's not just about mitigating the damage, catastrophic damage. It's about preventing it in the first place. What did Benjamin Franklin said? He said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah.
And it's not just Ben Shapiro on the right, the lunatic on the left, Bill Gates, with all due respect. He wants to cloud seed and geoengineer as well. And it's not just cloud seeding. He wants to manipulate the weather. And not only that, institute something that would prevent ultraviolet rays from even reaching the Earth. Don't even get me started on that. He wants to do that instead of taking carbon emissions out of the atmosphere. Another thing that I want to mention is, why are we doing this, Jillian? You were asking. It's also always the mighty dollar, because there are industries that depend on reliable weather. And can you think of one? It's skiing, for instance.
Good point.
They want snowing. They want hard snow. They need that. These companies,
That's
these ski resorts,
insane if
have
that's
been
actually happening.
manipulating the weather and doing whatever they can to prolong the skiing season, because right now with climate change, it's shortening.
And another example, Dubai. Do you guys remember the Dubai floods last year? How terrible that was. And you know what? That wasn't the first one. There was actually a flood that was even worse during the Bush administration that happened in Dubai. You want to know what's crazy? You can barely find any information about it. It has been nearly completely buried. Like, you need to dig so deeply. We actually had a conversation about this on another valuetainment show, The Unusual Suspects. And literally, there was somebody in the comments who was like, I was literally there during that. Yes, it was cloud seeding. Yes, it was catastrophic. And yes, they covered it up. And I find it insane that when I came to America and spoke about it, here we go. I remember. So
she read a YouTube comment that said the cloud seeding is real, and then she completely bought into the conspiracy theory. This is what I sound like a broken record right now, but these people are, again, they're so stupid. They don't understand anything. They read about a phenomena once, and because they do not understand just the basic fundamentals of the phenomena, they think that cloud seeding can generate floods out of nothing. You can't cloud seed in clear skies. You do understand that, right? Well, no, she probably doesn't understand that. She thinks you can cloud seed and create a flood out of thin air. That's how idiotic these people are.
The flood in Dubai. I was there for it too when Bush came. They're proud of their cloud seeding there. Never been a secret. So when I moved abroad, I was shocked to be called a conspiracy theorist.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're being called a conspiracy theorist because you're saying that the cloud seeding is what is causing these floods. That's why you're the conspiracy theorist. Most people understand that cloud seeding is a thing. They acknowledge that it does exist.
Crazy because Marjorie Taylor Greene does seem very kooky, and she has said and done kooky things. However, it looks like
a little bit.
It looks like she's kind of on the money when it comes to geoengineering, and I don't know. I haven't looked into this, so I'm gonna just put my...
Yeah, but MTG is a believer in Jewish space lasers, but yeah, she's on the money when it comes to something you haven't done any research on, as she's about to eloquently inform us.
Ignorance out on the table, but I'm curious if you looked into it, Amy. Has there been any analysis to look at the long-term effects of geoengineering?
That's exactly what I'm trying to look into right now to see, because we do this all the time.
Yeah.
And like I remember something having to do with like DDT and mosquitoes. Yeah. And we like, oh no.
Understand that cloud seeding's been around since 1946. These people are stupid. These guys are brain dead.
And then it ended up like killing all the birds and creating a wildlife crisis. Like we don't have the foresight. You just don't know nature is going to respond in a way that we We simply cannot
That's
anticipate.
precisely right, because when humans try to play God, there are so many long-term consequences, unforeseen consequences, that we don't even know. We see that from everything from Ozempic to messing with the ecosystem. We just don't know, because it's all like the butterfly effect, like the domino effect. We just don't know what the
Good
ramifications
stuff to it.
are.
I mean, it eradicated malaria in Europe, but it's like, what? Hence, coming back to the concept. And if we're done with this, I'm going to put a button on it, that an ounce of prevention. I think that's the bigger message.
I'm done with the lesbian maggot, JillianMichaels, who has no clue what she's talking about, gets outclassed in every single CNN interview I see her in. Just a complete and utter idiot. But the reality is, all these 4 women have no clue what they're talking about. Not a single one of them. AnaKasparian's the smartest of the bunch, but as you can see, she's completely willing to buy conspiracy theories when presented them by people that are literally idiots. Like, these guys have no clue what they're talking about. And Anna knows that. She's been with these women for at least 12 episodes. But whatever, I'm done.